Good evening. Welcome to Legal Aid Live on Facebook. As we get ready to start, just a few reminders. Questions are encouraged. Please post them in the comments. Our speakers will respond to as many as possible. Also, we are recording this event. My name is Ann Sweeney. I'm the Managing Attorney for Community Engagement at Legal Aid. Thank you for joining us this evening to learn more about tax help available in our community. Before I turn to our guests and my colleague, I want to be sure that you know the basics about legal aid. Legal aid secures justice and resolves fundamental problems for people with low income across Northeast Ohio in Cuyahoga, Ashtabula, Cuyahoga, Lake, and Lorain counties. We assist with a variety of problems relating to housing, money, benefits, employment, family, and more. Generally, households with income below 200% of the federal poverty guidelines are eligible. Anyone in need of assistance can apply by phone at 1-888-817-3777 or online 24 hours a day, 7 days a week by going to our website, www.lasclev.org, and click Apply for Free Legal Help. Now I'm thrilled to introduce my colleague, Dennis Dobos, and our guest, Andre Ross, from the Cuyahoga County EITC Coalition. Dennis and Andre, if you could turn and join me. Great, thank you. So before we dive in on our conversation about the details of the help you both provide, I'd love to have our viewers just learn a little bit about each of you. Dennis, could you just—
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Ann. My name's Dennis Dobos, and I run the Low Income Taxpayer Clinic at the Legal Aid Society of Cleveland. Our clinic was established in 2001 to assist low-income taxpayers with IRS tax disputes. We focus primarily on federal tax controversies, and we feel that's the best way to help taxpayers in our community. Our clinic functions in a number of ways. We educate taxpayers about their rights and responsibilities under the Internal Revenue Code. We obtain tax transcripts and tax records for our clients. We assist our clients with audits, due process hearings, and IRS appeals. We negotiate payment plans, currently not collectible status, offers in compromise. And then lastly, we litigate matters in United States tax court and in federal district court. We're a full service clinic when it comes to federal tax issues.
Great, thank you so much, Dennis. And Andre, please introduce yourself.
Yes, thank you. I'm really happy to be here today. My name is Andre Ross, and I'm the Volunteer and Outreach Coordinator for the Cuyahoga EITC Coalition. And the Cuyahoga EITC Coalition, big name, but what we do is we operate under the IRS's Volunteer Income and Tax Assistance Program. And we'll talk more about that in a moment. But the short of what we do is that we offer free tax preparation services to people across the county. What throws a lot of people off about us is our name. So I'll dive a little bit into that. But the biggest thing that people ought to know is that a lot of people might have gotten their taxes done in the Cuyahoga EITC Coalition and not even known about it. Because that's exactly what we are. We are a coalition, and we're a group of nonprofits and other groups that make this program possible. So many of our partners are the ones who are responsible for operating our tax sites across the county. And the other part of our name here, it's the EITC. So that stands for the Earned Income Tax Credit. And I'm sure we'll get more into that in a moment, but that is a huge focus for us in building awareness for the EITC and making sure that everyone that qualifies is receiving that. 1 in 5 people who could qualify for the EITC aren't receiving it, and that's something we aim to fix.
Andre and Dennis, thank you both so much for being here. We've got a lot to talk about. I know we've already had one question about the economic impact payments or stimulus checks, and I promise our viewers we are going to cover that. So stay tuned. We'll be coming to that in just a little bit. To start with a few basics though, the IRS will start processing returns on February 12th, and the deadline for filing your 2020 tax return will be April 15th, 2021. So let's talk about how people are going to be able to get help with preparing returns. Andre, can you please explain how the Volunteer Income Tax Assistance Program works and who can get help through the VITA sites with filing their taxes?
Yeah, so the Volunteer Income Tax Assistance Program, the VITA program, as most people call it, it's a program where, and it's nationwide, we work with the IRS to bring it here, but we train and certify volunteers. You know, it's an official process. We get them IRS certified. And a lot of our volunteers come from accounting and tax backgrounds. And, you know, we make sure that that hardworking families that are able to get our services totally for free. So it's where we open our doors to absolutely anyone who's making under $56,000 a year. And I'll do a little shameless plug here. You know, if you're one of those folks, if you're looking to get your tax refunds done for free, you could make an appointment right now at refundohio.org or by calling 211.
Great, thank you. And, you know, I'm curious, are there people who are reluctant to use your services because they're free? Does that cause any concerns for some folks?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we hear that all the time. Every time that somebody mentions taxes, I mean, it's an important thing for a lot of people. Refunds matter a lot to folks. And whenever taxes are done, you know, you're exchanging personal information. And so we understand that it's very important that it's done in a secure way and it's done right, where people are getting their refunds. And so, you know, that's why we are paired with the IRS. That's why we have a vetting process and a certification process for all of our volunteers to absolutely make sure that your returns are accurate, that all your information is safe. And we're always, you know, laser focused on making sure that you get the maximum refund possible. And I think the other issue that we hear often is just speed. I want to just say really quickly on that, just because, you know, we don't, sometimes the refunds that people get take a little bit longer through us, just a few weeks time. And you know, our answer to that is, you know, that the services are completely free, that they're done by a volunteer, and on average, we save a taxpayer $300 to $450 that they'd otherwise be spending on a paid preparer. As far as we're concerned, you earned this refund and you deserve every bit of it.
Excellent, thank you. Dennis, I'm sorry. I know you help people who owe money to the IRS in your work in the low-income taxpayer clinic. And I'm guessing that some folks who may owe money or who haven't filed are a little bit fearful perhaps of now filing their taxes and what that might mean for them. Is there anything they should know about going ahead and reaching out to a VITA site and trying to get their taxes filed despite the possibility that they may owe some money from back years when they didn't file?
Yeah, and that's a good question. I think filing compliance is just essential. And that's the number one thing. You know, when we resolve tax problems for clients, we have to make sure that all those past returns have been filed. And so strongly recommend that if there are outstanding years that need to be filed, that they get to a VITA site. You know, it would be a great start, and then it makes my job easier.
So Andre, as you were just saying, one of the biggest benefits to the Vita site is that they are free. People keep every penny that they are entitled to, and they're not paying somebody for it. Are there other benefits that you can tell our viewers about for using the Vita sites as compared to some of the online programs or the paid preparers?
Absolutely. You know, this is why it's so important that we've set ourselves up as a coalition. Every one of our tax sites is placed at another nonprofit whose whole mission is about improving people's lives and offers services that could very well be relevant to people. So the goal of that is when we set up a tax site at another, apologies, excuse me, whenever we set up a tax site at one of our partners, and we're actually, you see a lot of those now. I'll mention a few, don't want to snub anyone, leave anyone out, but we have tax sites at places like CHN Housing Partners or Detroit Shoreway and the Gordon Square Arcade, Burton Bell Car, Asian Services in Action, Metro West at their Lynn Omni building, and there are more. And this is why a lot of people who may very well have gotten their taxes done by the coalition at one of these tax sites, they might not even know our name. They might just know the name of the tax site that offers our services. And so we have these strategic partnerships because as soon as somebody walks in the door, gets their taxes done, they could immediately turn around and ask someone there, you know, at these nonprofits about other services, whether that be, you know, financial coaching programs or support and issues related to housing. You know, that's why we have, we've set our tax sites up here. And, you know, we have a couple of other partnerships like, you know, what brought us here today, like with legal aid and with partners like the Greater Cleveland Food Bank, you know, people that aren't necessarily supporting tax sites, but work in the community to help people and with work related to taxes and or just things that could benefit people. That's our biggest goal, is just helping improve people's lives. And the other thing I think I'd say is a big benefit to coming in and getting your taxes done with the coalition is, you know, since we have volunteers that are doing this, they're not on the clock. So as opposed to a paid preparer, they'll be willing, and a lot of them actually love sitting down with our clients and just talking through your taxes, talking through, you know, how you might in future years get a better refund or owe less in future years. And it's just that ability to talk with someone about something that's, you know, is complicated, but is important to all of us as taxes, that I think is a big benefit we offer.
Excellent. And Dennis, anything that you want to, you know, add to that, maybe in particular related to avoiding scams or fraud that sometimes plagues taxpayers?
Yeah, I think the more people who know about the Vita sites and utilize them, I believe there'd be a lot less prepare fraud. I mean, you know, I deal with it all the time. And, you know, if these taxpayers would have been aware of Vita sites, there wouldn't be the fraud, you know, there wouldn't be the scams. And, you know, you can undo things, but, you know, it just takes time, you know, and I think from the start, you should go to a reputable preparer. I think Vita sites do an outstanding job. So, you know, I just can't recommend them enough. I think that without question, there'd be less tax problems, you know, based on better preparation, more, you know, more genuine, you know, honest. So.
Excellent. Well, as we heard from the initial question from one of our viewers, the filing taxes this year gives people the added benefit of making sure they get their stimulus checks or their economic impact payments that most people are able to receive as a result of this pandemic that we are living through. I want to talk a little bit about how that works and what the connection is to filing your taxes and getting your economic impact payment. So Andre, if we could just start, you know, if someone was eligible for the stimulus last year but never got it, how does filing their taxes now help them?
Yeah, so that that economic impact payment, a lot of people call the stimulus check. That this year, most people are going to be able to claim, or I shouldn't even say most people. If you haven't received it yet, you'll be able to claim it as a credit on your tax return this year, and that includes, both this one that happened, the first check along with the second check as well. So it's I should also add here that it's important to consider, even if you don't have income at all, you'll still be able to come in and schedule an appointment with us, and we'll be able to file something for you that can make sure that you get this stimulus check. Because even if you don't have income, you still qualify for the stimulus check. And a lot of people have had issues too with receiving them, whether it was mailed, whether it was, whether the IRS is claiming that it was direct deposited. We could either, help track that down for you, or, make sure that you claim this as a credit, as an alternative way of receiving it. Either way, the best thing to do is make an appointment.
And in terms of how much people are entitled to, I know I've gotten questions about whether families who welcomed a new baby into their family last year, but maybe after they got their stimulus check, can they still get the additional funds they would have been entitled to for the new child?
Actually, yeah, and we've gotten that question quite a few times too. And so it's good you ask, because yes, any child that was born in 2020 qualifies for the stimulus check. So that was, and I believe, if I'm quoting correctly, it's $500 for that first stimulus check, was for, a family would receive, and $600 for the second stimulus check that arrived early this year, if I'm remembering correctly. So the point is, if a child was born in 2020, yes, they do qualify for the added stimulus check.
And I just want to reiterate what I think you said, Andre, but just to make it really clear to anybody watching, there have been two separate stimulus checks. There was one earlier in 2020. There was one right at the beginning of 2021. Folks can come to VitaSites with help with either or both of those. So filing their taxes now can help address any issues they've had with the most recent 2021 stimulus checks or economic impact payments as well. Did I get that right?
Yeah, absolutely right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, great. Well, it's super helpful. We want to make sure everybody gets that additional cash that they're entitled to. It is a time we can all use that additional support and resource. So we want folks to know how to access that. So just sticking with you, Andre, for one more topic here, because clearly we are still in the throes of this pandemic and need to continue with all of our public health best practices and social distancing and mask wearing. And I wonder if you could just talk to us briefly about how are the VitaSites operating under this reality?
Yeah, and that's something that's been really important to us. That was a huge part of our discussions as we ramped up to this tax season, wanting to make sure that we had ways that people could still get their taxes done in the world that we now have. And so people are able to schedule both in-person appointments and virtual appointments. And what we mean by in-person is we're being careful about that. So when you schedule that in-person appointment, it's most likely going to be people dropping off their documents. You can either wait in a separate room where we're socially distant, or in a car just for an hour while we finish the return, or we'll just talk with you about coming back within 48 hours and picking up your return once it's done. So that's kind of our socially distanced, safe in-person method. And we've also set up this completely virtual method where it's super easy to do, just either on your computer or through your phone. You're able to upload your documents, your tax documents, totally secure, and our tax preparers will call you and just kind of work through any questions that there might be, but you won't even have to leave your house. So 2 ways to get it done.
Excellent. So I'm just going to pause here because I know we've had a couple of audience questions and I want to make sure we address those as best as we can. Keeping in mind, of course, our guests are not accountants. We are not official tax preparers here. So we'll do the best we can and try to point you to the right direction if we can't fully answer for you this evening. One viewer is interested in knowing more about grants received, COVID grant money received for a small business, and whether or not we know if that would be taxable income. Seems like she's or he's had some runaround trying to get that answered. Is there anywhere, do either of you know the answer, or can you point this viewer to somewhere to find out?
Dennis, you know off the top of your head?
Yeah, no, unfortunately not. But you know, any accession to wealth is taxable in general. And you know, really have to look at the circumstance there, and you know, just giving an off the cuff answer with without more information. I don't want to. I want to do justice. I want to do justice to that question. But you know, there is an answer there for sure, and I think that if it's you know, pointing toward income in any way, you know, I mean, it would definitely be taxable. But you know, I can't say, you know, I can't give you an answer right now because it's short of it.
Yeah, what I can say at the very least is that, you know, our volunteers and our taxpayers, they're always going to be able to get you an answer. So, you know, even if you have some of those, you know, bigger questions about taxes, about the specific of your taxes, and you make an appointment at refundohio.org or you call 211, you can sit down with someone and they'll kind of talk you through what is going to be in your tax return, what you need to file, and things like that. The other place that I might direct people just for a kind of quicker virtual way, you know, of getting in touch with us is support@refundohio.org. I'll just say it again, just in case, it's support@refundohio.org. That's our email, just that we have, you know, someone there who is a tax preparer answering people's tax related questions and can, you know, get you more information about that as well.
Excellent. So the next question is about the EITC, which I think we've referenced but haven't gotten into yet. We are going to talk more about that, but just to give people a little intro, what is the EITC?
So yes, the Earned Income Tax Credit, otherwise known as the EITC. So that was set up as, you know, a credit that goes to folks that's it's purposely designed to help hardworking families, although individuals can qualify too, mostly for families though, that make sure that they can afford, you know, their basic needs. Most people who are getting this credit, you know, it's helping people afford things like rent and groceries, and it's meant to, you know, smooth over people's finances where they might otherwise be pressed to afford those things. And that the reason that this program exists is, you know, there's been a lot of research into the just when people can't afford those things, you know, it affects families, it affects how kids grow up. You know, we don't talk enough in this world about the effects of stress on our lives, and money can be a very stressful thing. And so having this program, this credit that helps smooth that over is really important. And that's, I think, one of the biggest benefits that, and this is well researched, that people who are receiving this credit, it does genuinely help, you know, people's housing outcomes, the outcomes for their kids, and things like that. What I will say as well is, you know, it's like at many things tax, there are lots of numbers involved for who would qualify, but it's based upon people's family size and their income for who would qualify for this credit. What we've set the reason we have this $56,000 number, if you make $56,000 or less, you can get your taxes done for free with us, is because of this Earned Income Tax Credit. That's the maximum a family of four would make to receive the credit.
Great. Thank you so much, Andre. I'm going to switch gears now and want to talk, Dennis, a little bit more about the work you're doing in the clinic. So I know that a big concern, understandably, for folks is owing money to the IRS, and that causes a huge amount of stress. Speaking of stress in our lives, can you talk a little bit about what you want people to know who might be facing that kind of a situation?
Sure. Yeah. I think right off the bat, I'd say that don't worry. I mean, there are remedies. The IRS provides tools that are available to help with underpayments for many years. I mean, we see it day in and day out. Clients haven't filed in maybe 5-10 years. And what we do is we get them compliant. We get those returns filed, and then if they, we look at a different, we look at payment options or perhaps currently not collectible status or offers in compromise. And for sure, one of them would be applicable to any client's situation. And so we line up the method with the financial circumstance, where the client is at that moment, and and go from there. But the main thing is they should tackle the issue head on, and not be afraid. Get the returns filed, and we can assist with a collection alternative. So that would be my recommendation.
Great. So I'm going to show a slide here so folks can see on our website. We have a good amount of information about our clinic and tax questions and tax help available through the clinic. But as you were saying, Dennis, a big part of what you work on is issues where the taxpayer hasn't paid all of what they owe. There's some gap between what the IRS thinks they owe and what they've been able to pay up to this point in time. So could you just break that down a little bit more to help reassure some of the viewers that, there are these specific remedies available, even if they're not now in a position to pay the full amount they owed, that's not going to prevent them from getting help?
Yeah. So let me just kind of go through a case, in a typical fashion. I think somebody comes in owing past due tax debt. First thing we do is try to determine if that debt is accurate. Okay. And we look at the substantive issues surrounding that debt. If the debt if the IRS is accurate, the underpayment is there, then we look at collection alternatives. And what we work with a lot, particularly for our clients, is the offer in compromise. And with the offer in compromise, it's based on the client's financial circumstance at the moment, how much extra money is left per month in their budget, and what sort of assets are available. But we really have a good amount of success with the offer in compromise and eliminating a lot of debt for a small amount of money. So it's really a fresh start program. And so the IRS is entitled to keep any refunds up through the year the offer in compromise is accepted, and then the taxpayer must timely file for the next 5 years. They have to do that anyhow. So it's a really great program. The currently not collectible status. If somebody is maybe threatened with a levy, we would move somebody into currently not collectible status and stave off that levy. Now with that, interest and penalties continue to accrue, but I think that a taxpayer can stabilize their financial position for a year, and then IRS will periodically check their income and determine whether they need to move out of that status or not. But sometimes we will move somebody to currently not collectible, and then as well do an offer in compromise and completely eliminate the debt. The taxpayer is greatly relieved. The IRS is happy because they have the taxpayers now filing returns regularly every year, and so everybody wins with it. So I just can't recommend those two aspects enough. And then you have payment plans as well. So if it offer and compromise, currently not collectible status, if both those do not fit for a taxpayer, then we have a payment plan that we can initiate. You can work with IRS collections, or there's also an online way to establish a payment plan. So lots of ways to help, and the key is just act. It's the sooner you act, it eliminates the stress, and life is much more enjoyable.
Well, and I'm imagining there may be some viewers out there who are thinking, okay, well, I owe money, but he just said a whole lot of different things, and I have no idea which of those I'm supposed to do.
Right.
What do you recommend someone who might be watching who's in that situation? What's the first step? What do they need to do when this program's over?
Yeah, come and see us. That's number one. And we do this day in and day out, and we've been down the road, and we've had a high amount of success with using those tools. I just can't emphasize that enough. So that's what I would recommend. And then if one of those methods will work, we'll see we'll determine the best remedy and go from there.
Great. So I'm gonna go back to the EITC, which Andre gave us a nice overview of in terms of sort of the purpose of that program and the benefit it affords lots of working families. Dennis, I guess I just wonder if you could speak to whether there's anything taxpayers need to be aware of when it comes to claiming the EITC, any pitfalls to look out for?
Yeah, I think the taxpayers should be aware that it's one of the most highly audited areas by the IRS. I mean, there's a lot of fraud in the area. So the auditing is proper, because people do defraud the government through those the credits. And it's something that we deal with pretty regularly in our practice. I mean, I've had many cases in tax court that have dealt with the credits, earned income tax credit, child tax credit, et cetera. And I think the key to that is you want to maintain your records, all right? And, what I see sometimes is really sloppy record keeping, or just the retention of records, I should say. And sometimes, we have to hunt down records, and, things can be difficult, but, generally, we can find what we need. But, if one has the records up front, they can deal, with the audit head on right from the beginning and put the matter to bed. And, then we don't have to worry. But I would say record retention would be my recommendation.
Great. Thank you. So I know another common scenario, unfortunately, for 2020 has been unemployment for a lot of individuals and families. Andre, I'm curious whether there's anything in particular that people who experienced unemployment in 2020 should think about. Should they still bother filing taxes if they were working but ended up having to claim unemployment compensation?
Yeah, and it's definitely been a hard year, and I totally understand. This is a good question. We've been getting this a lot lately, and so it's an important question too. It's a little bit of a tricky one to answer, but the short answer is yes. That if you have been receiving unemployment, you should try and file your taxes. Now, aside from the fact that when you're filing this year, for those folks who haven't received their stimulus checks, this is kind of the way to get it. So that's one of those reasons to file. But the other thing is that unemployment is taxable income, and there are cases where someone with unemployment would need to file. So and the best way to find that out is when you do make that appointment, sit down with one of our volunteers. We'll tell you like what if you need to file, if you should file, all of that. We'll make sure to sit down with you and get it taken care of.
Great. Dennis, anything you want to add quickly on that?
Oh, no, I agree with Andre. I mean, it's unemployment benefits are taxable income, and they're subject to the filing requirements. It never hurts to file a return. If you're not certain, file.
Sounds good. There's a good takeaway. So just real quickly, we recently learned about a scam in Ohio where there were people who were fraudulently applying for UC benefits using someone else's identity. And this may come up because the victim of that identity theft may learn about this scam by receiving a 1099 tax form from the Ohio Department of Job and Family Services for unemployment benefits that they never actually received. So Dennis, would you mind just briefly
Sure.
Giving folks some recommendations if that should happen?
Yeah.
It won't, but.
Yeah, I think they should contact the Ohio Department of Job and Family Services and let them know about the wrongdoing right off the bat. I think that's paramount. They can still go ahead and file normally electronically. The IRS may communicate with them down the road about a perceived underpayment, but that can be tackled at that point. Generally, with ID theft, though, in general, if it's just beyond a W-2 for 1099, for example, or some form of one source of income, is you would file a paper return, okay, along with the ID theft affidavit, and then have it processed that way. Okay, you're putting the IRS on notice right away that there's been something's wrong. Somebody stole your ID, and you should once they'll process the return and make the adjustments. So I mean, you can maybe tackle it in the beginning through an ID theft affidavit and spelling out what went wrong with your return, or file electronically with the right amount of income, and then if IRS determines that there may be an underpayment, you can address it at that point and show the IRS that, explain to the IRS what happened. So I think there are a couple ways to go with it. Additionally, you might want to, as you can see on the screen, you can notify the Ohio Attorney General's office or the FTC. And I know for a fact through the FTC, you can also access your credit reports and then put blocks on them through that site. So both sites are very valuable to address that sort of fraud.
Excellent. Well, thank you for that. Hopefully it's not a situation too many people find themselves in, but just in case, important to know to address it right away. So I'm gonna again just double check whether we have any additional audience questions, but while I'm doing that, I do want to ask this question. What risk is there for somebody who hasn't paid their taxes of going to jail? If they haven't paid their taxes in a while and they want to take care of it, but they're really afraid they're going to end up going to jail if they call legal aid or go to a VITA site because they've waited so long, is that something people need to be worried about?
Well, Andre, you want to comment, or do you want me to take it?
I'll let you take it.
Okay, glad to. Yeah, so I mean, we've had a number of clients come in and they worry about going to jail, and I assure them that as long as there hasn't been any intentional conduct, the chances of them going to jail is pretty small. It's mostly, most of our clients are they're basically negligent, and not doing what they're supposed to do. And, they're going to be, the fact, I mean, it doesn't go unpunished. You have penalties and interest, that accrue. And so, you want to do things timely and accurately from the start, to avoid any problems. But no worries, if, you haven't filed, and particularly if you're seeking help and trying to remedy the issue, or becoming compliant, we'll say. I think that we seldom do we see criminal action, but we see it, but seldom with our clients. And, yeah.
What I might just add quickly there, and this is maybe for some more benign cases, some simpler instances where somebody just hasn't filed in a while. We can do past years. So right now we do back to 2016. If somebody hasn't filed since 2016 and you still need to get their taxes filed, you can still come on in and we'll file them for you. This is now is tax season, but for those folks who are behind on filing, we also have a program where we're open over the summer as well, where people can schedule. So we're still able to help you out.
Excellent. So I just want to wrap up this evening by making sure people know where to go to get more information and to get help. So I'm going to put a slide up with some resources, but Andre, if you could just quickly review, and then Dennis, add in anything you want folks to be sure to be aware of in terms of who to contact to get help this year with their taxes and with their stimulus checks.
I'm going to do a long breath pause for if anyone needs to get a pen real quick. But if people want to schedule an appointment with us, just remember, super easy, 211 is an easy way to do it. Or go to our website, refundohio.org. We partner with some of the VITA programs that are also in Lorain and Summit counties. I see Lake up there as well. I can confirm for a fact that for Lorain and Summit at least, and I'm pretty sure Lake as well, you call 211 and you'll be able to find out what's happening and where to get your taxes prepared in those counties as well. Our website though, yes, for Cuyahoga County is refundohio.org. The two other things that aren't here, but just in case people want to get in touch with someone, is support@refundohio.org. If you email that goes to our staff, and we're kind of able to help with some of those specific tax questions that you have, or if you're having issues scheduling an appointment, we'll help you out as well. And lastly, we've opened up, kind of an informal hotline for folks who are having questions about their economic impact payments, their stimulus checks. So I'll say the number here just in case you want to, call in and get in touch with someone for that. The phone number is 216-631-0280 with the extension 4124. And for the people live here, I'll just do it again really quick, 216-631-0280 with the extension 4124 for questions about stimulus checks.
Thanks, Andre. Dennis, can you just briefly explain what the Taxpayer Advocate Service is?
Yeah, they're an arm of the IRS, but they're independent, and they help. They're full service. They help taxpayers without regard to income with their tax issues. So they're located, I think, in the on East 9th Street there, and I think the Federal Building, and great resource. I mean. We work oftentimes in tandem. I mean, there are things that they can do for us and get things done more quickly, and then reciprocally we get referrals from them. So we do many of the same things. They don't litigate though, and we litigate in in tax court and federal court, and they do not. But they do everything else. So they're a great resource.
Excellent. Now we are just about out of time, but both the clinic and the coalition really make such a tremendous impact in our community. Can you just give us a really quick highlight of some of your stats, just to let folks know how powerful these programs can be? Andre?
Yeah, last year we filed over 12,000 returns, and that resulted in over $18 million in refunds for folks. That was $5.7 million in EITC alone. And that's a little smaller than we were able to do in the year prior, just because of everything that happened last year. We did our best as quickly as possible to, in the midst of the pandemic, transition to virtual. But still, even with all of that happening, we were able to help, over 1,000 people with their stimulus check questions, and feel really proud of our numbers. In 2019, it was 14,000. So to do 12,000 last year, we feel really good about, and we're looking for more this year.
Yeah,
that's awesome. Dennis, how about for the clinic?
Oh, sure. Yeah. So over the last 3 years, we've eliminated $2.5 million of federal tax debt for our clients. And we are ranked #1 in the country out of 90 LITCs in that offer and compromise category. So, as I mentioned earlier, come and see us if you have federal tax debt.
Andre, Dennis, thank you both so much for taking time to talk about your programs and about the work you do to provide help to Northeast Ohio residents when it comes to taxes. I hope lots of viewers will take advantage of that and spread the word. This will be recorded and available on Legal Aid's YouTube site and on Facebook, so folks can come back and share it or rewatch if you have further questions, but really appreciate both of your time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sam.